What's going on, guys? And today I'm doing a video about the top 10 greatest players of all time. Now, first things first, some honorable mentions. Kobe Bryant, Hakeem Olajuwon, and Oscar Robertson. These guys are usually floating around the top 10, but in my personal opinion, all the guys on this list are better in multiple ways than these guys, whether it be playoff success, individual skill, or just a combination of both, and how I like them, because that is a little bit of a factor, even though it really shouldn't be, but my personal opinion. Alright, let's get started. At number 10 is Dr. J. Now, Dr. J is almost always left off the top 10 lists, however, I think he really deserves to be on there. He won 3 titles, both in the ABA and NBA combined, 2 playoffs MVPs in the ABA, as they didn't have a finals MVP, but rather a playoffs MVP. Between the two leagues, he was a 16-time All-Star as a 4-time MVP. Being a great defensive and athletic player, he still averaged over 24 points a game, 8.5 rebounds, over 4 assists, as you see on the screen, almost 2 steals and 2 blocks a game. Now, he was also very efficient as well, shooting 50.6%, and he is best known for his athleticism and winning the dunk contest. I believe it was the first dunk contest ever, so that's why he's number 10. Moving on to number 9, one of the greatest teammates of all time, Tim Duncan. Now, Duncan is well known for his long life in the NBA, lasting 19 years, and never really dwindling until maybe his last year where he started to show his age. Regardless, he won 5 titles, being the finals MVP in 3 of them, as well as winning 2 regular season MVPs in the early 2000s, while being an All-Star for 15 years in the NBA. This is all incredible, and while the teammate player may not be worthy of top 10, he was still fantastic on his own, averaging almost 19 points and 11 rebounds per game. Then you throw in the fact that he averaged over 2 blocks and 3 assists per game, while shooting over 50%, which is very efficient. Duncan is definitely top 10 of all time. Alright, moving on to number 8, a guy who is a little controversial at this spot, at least I think he'll be thought this way. That's Shaquille O'Neal. Now, Shaq is usually thought as lower than Duncan, but in my personal opinion, I think he's better. Based purely on skill, I think he's a better player. He was never as great of a shooter as Duncan, but everything else he was much better at. Maybe playmaking might be another thing, and defensive fundamentals, but Shaq was known as the most dominant player of all time, if not the most dominant, one of the most rebounding big man, almost 2.5 blocks and shooting just under 6%, or 58.2% from the field. He also had 4 NBA championships, 3 for the Lakers and 1 for the Miami Heat, as well as being the 3-time finals MVP, all for the Lakers. He was an MVP once and definitely deserved quite a few more, as being a 15-time All-Star. Not only this, but he was successful ever since he got into the league when he was only 21 or 22 years old. He brought his team to the NBA Finals in 1994, just 2 years after he was drafted, and he really never turned down at all until maybe, his later years in Phoenix, which was almost a decade and a half later. Regardless, Shaq is easily one of the greatest players we have ever seen. Moving on to number 7, Wilt Chamberlain. Maybe best known as the greatest individual player of all time, Wilt looked at his stats and cared more about his stats than anything else. Also known for being the only guy ever to lead the league in points, rebounds, and assists at some point in his career, Wilt averaged 30.1 points per game for his career, which is tied with Michael Jordan for the highest. I believe he has the highest rebounds per game average of 22.9 rebounds a game. A really nice number for a center, 4.5 assists per game while shooting an efficient 54% from the field, which is pretty rare to see back when he played. Now, Wilt is best known for having his 100-point game, but he also had a season where he averaged over 50 points per game for the entire season, which is, yes, the same year he scored 100 in a game. Now, he only won 2 titles and was only an MVP in the finals once, but he did make 13 All-Star games as well as being an MVP 4 times. If he cared more about the team, maybe those stats would have went down, but for sure you would have seen the championships and finals MVPs skyrocket. Definitely one of the greatest, most dominant players, just like Shaq, except he played in a different era, and I feel like those guys are pretty interchangeable, but just due to the incredible numbers, I feel like Wilt is slightly ahead of him. Alright, moving on to number 6, and quite fittingly, it's number 6 for the Boston Celtics, Bill Russell. Now, Bill Russell dominated the game way back in the 50s and 60s before blocks and steals were recorded. However, his defensive prowess is what led him to 11 championships in 13 years. Now that's incredible. He only did not win the finals in 2 out of 13 years. Many players came and say that they went to it once. Many players can't say that they were undefeated in the final. Actually, he was undefeated in the finals, I'm pretty sure. But many people can't say they went to it multiple times. But no one has ever won a double-digit amount of times besides him. Maybe there was another guy, a role player for the Celtics. I really don't know or remember. However, it was not just about the team, kind of like with Tim Duncan. He still won 5 MVPs as well as being a 12-time All-Star. He had great numbers of 15 points per game, 22.5 rebounds a game, and 4.5 assists per game. I guarantee you blocks were recorded, just like Wilt. They both would average over 4 blocks per game for many seasons and possibly even further career. Bill is best known not only for his championships in defense, but also bringing equality between blacks and whites in the NBA, and that can't be understated in the most impactful and greatest players of all time. Alright, moving on to number 5 is Larry Bird. Now, Larry Bird is usually known nowadays as just a 3-point shooter, and even though he was a good and great 3-point shooter, there's much more to that. He was a 3-time NBA champion and won 2 Finals MVPs along the way. He was a 3-time MVP and a 12-time All-Star, averaging over 24 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists per game, as well as being a solid defender. Nothing too spectacular, averaging almost 2 steals and 1 block per game. Larry led the Celtics to the greatest home record of all time before that was tied by the Spurs this past season of 40-1, and he won multiple championships in the mid-80s. Being probably the greatest Celtic of all time, if not the greatest, one of the greatest Celtics of all time, for a franchise that won 17 titles, which is only matched by, I think, the Yankees in professional sports. That is, and I mean the Yankees have more, but that is an absolute incredible feat, bringing 3 titles to Boston, and something that many players can't boast. Alright, moving on to number 4, LeBron James. Now, this is pretty heavily in recency bias, at least many people might think so, but LeBron is so dominant. You don't see players with these stats. 27 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 1.7 steals, and 0.8 blocks. Not only was and is a great playmaker, but he's also an elite scorer, something that people never really acknowledge with him. He did have the scoring record for 1 year when in his younger years back in Cleveland in his first run. However, people now know him more as a defensive and playmaking guy, but he still averages over 25 or 26 points per game easily in the NBA. Not only is his stats amazing, but being a 3-time champion and on 2 teams, he has 3 titles combined, as well as being a 3-time Finals MVP and a 4-time regular season MVP. He's been a 12-time All-Star in his 13-year career, and he's just been an absolute monster, never having any major injuries and never really slowing down. Yeah, his 3-point shot has dwindled recently, but in his prime in Miami, when he averaged like 57% field goal percentage and like 43% from deep, he was truly unstoppable. And after beating Curry and the Warriors this past season, there's no doubt he's top 5 in my mind. Moving on to number 3 is a guy who had too short of a career in Magic Johnson. Now, Magic Johnson is probably the best playmaker of all time. While he's not as flashy as, say, White Chocolate, where White Chocolate went for 100% flash, Magic went for 90% flash and 100% accuracy and 100% finishing. He led the Lakers to 5 NBA championships, as well as winning 3 Finals MVPs along the way. He was also a 3-time regular season MVP and a 12-time All-Star. Now, not only the team's success was amazing, but as well as his own success. Averaging close to 20 points and 7 rebounds a game, he averaged an NBA record 11.2 assists per game for his career, as well as getting almost 2 steals per game as well. Shooting 52% from the field is quite incredible, especially for a point guard. And Magic embodied the playmaking and all-around player you want to have on your team. His career was short-lived due to the fact that he got AIDS early on in his career. I believe he was only 31, which is truly sad to see, but he did have such a long-lasting impact on the NBA. He did make a comeback a few years later, I believe in the 95-96 season, but that was short-lived, and he officially retired soon thereafter. Magic will never be forgotten as probably the greatest playmaker and one of the greatest teammates there's ever been. Moving on to number 2, one of the greatest individual scorers of all time, right next to Wilt. Now, Kareem AbdulJabbar was an absolute animal. Kareem does have the record for most career points combined at 38,387 points, as well as winning the most regular season MVPs with 6. Now, Kareem was just automatic, and he was an animal. He played, I believe, over 20 years in the NBA, playing until 1989, and I think he was 42 when he retired, and he was still pretty effective up until that time. Averaging for a career almost 25 points and 11 rebounds, he was good at almost everything on the field. Again, almost 3.5 assists per game, as well as 2.5 blocks per game. Shooting 56% from the field is no small order. Also including the fact that he has the most unblockable shot of all time, the skyhook. Now, during his time in the NBA, he was also a 6-time NBA champion, being the Finals MVP twice. And he was also a 19-time All-Star, which I believe is a record tied with Kobe. If not, he holds it on his own. Such incredible success for such an incredibly long amount of time deserves him to make him number 2. And number 1, no surprise, is Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Jordan, but his success cannot be understated. 30 points a game, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 2.5 steals, and a block per game are great individual numbers, but the thing that's most amazing about him is his record: 6 Finals MVPs. Now, yes, Bill Russell probably would have had more if they had the Finals MVP back then, and if you didn't know, they only had it once when he was in the NBA, and that was his last season, and they gave it to Jerry West, the only time the losing team had the Finals MVP. So even though I did a quick little side note on that, he does have the record for most Finals MVPs of all time with 6, as being a 6-time NBA champion, losing no times in the finals. Yeah, I know people hate on LeBron for being 3 and 4, and I still think it's incredible. You can't look just at the end results, but at the process. But with Jordan, you just look at the end results. It is absolutely incredible. 6 championships, 6 Finals MVPs, 5 regular season MVPs, 14 All-Star appearances, and being probably the largest and most impactful player in the NBA history, creating his own multi-billion-dollar brand of Jordan and just being an entire lifestyle. Jordan is easily the greatest player of all time, and there's no debate about it. Maybe LeBron will soon pass him, but as for right now, Jordan is easily the greatest player of all time. Anyways, guys, thank you guys for watching. Give me a thumbs up. Comment down below if you had any differences where you think some guys are better than others. Maybe like Hakeem more than Dr. J, or you think Shaq isn't that good. Let me know. Subscribe to get more of these videos and share with your friends. Anyways, guys, thank you guys for watching, and of course, have a good day.